Hey there, cookie lovers! Welcome back to my kitchen. Today, I've got something super special for you all. If you've ever bitten into a warm, gooey chocolate chip cookie and thought, I wish I could make these at home, then you're in the right place. Whether you're a baking newbie or a seasoned pro, I'm going to walk you through every step to bake the perfect chocolate chip cookies right in your own kitchen. We'll cover everything from selecting the best ingredients to nailing that perfect bake. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll have all the tips and tricks to impress your friends and family with homemade cookies that taste like they came straight from a bakery. So grab your apron, preheat your oven, and let's get baking. All right, let's dive into the ingredients you'll need for these delicious cookies. Here's what you'll need. 1 cup unsalted butter, softened to room temperature. 1 cup 200 gram granulated sugar. 1 cup packed brown sugar. 2 large eggs at room temperature. 2 teaspoons pure vanilla extract. 3 cups 375 grams all-purpose flour. 1 teaspoon baking soda. Half teaspoon baking powder. 1 teaspoon salt. 2 cups 300 gory semi-sweet chocolate chips. Now, let's talk about a few of these ingredients. Using unsalted butter allows us to control the amount of salt in our cookies, ensuring perfect flavor balance. The combination of granulated sugar and brown sugar not only sweetens the cookies, but also gives them that chewy center and slightly crispy edge we all love. If you're looking for substitutes, you can swap the all-purpose flour for a gluten-free flour blend if you have dietary restrictions. For a richer, deeper flavor, try using dark brown sugar. For those who prefer dairy-free options, you can replace the butter with plant-based butter and use dairy-free chocolate chips. The recipe is quite flexible, so feel free to adjust according to your preferences. Now let's make sure you have all the equipment ready. Mixer. A stand mixer is ideal, but a handheld mixer works great too. Mixing bowls at least 2, one for wet ingredients and one for dry. Measuring cups and spoons. Accurate measurements are key. Baking sheets. Non-stick or lined with parchment paper or silicone baking mats to prevent sticking. Cooling rack for cooling the cookies evenly. Spatula and wooden spoon for mixing and scraping the bowls. Don't worry if you don't have a stand mixer. You can mix by hand. It'll just give you a bit of an arm workout. If you don't have parchment paper, lightly greasing your baking sheets will do the trick. First things first. Preheat your oven to 375 degrees Celsius so it's ready when we are. Now, let's prepare our ingredients. Make sure your butter is softened. You can leave it out at room temperature for about an hour before starting. Room temperature eggs are also important. They mix more easily and help the cookies bake evenly. Accurate measurements are crucial in baking. Spoon and level your flour into the measuring cup to avoid packing in too much, which can make your cookies dry. If you have a kitchen scale, even better. Use the gram measurements for precision. Gather all your ingredients and have them within arm's reach. It'll make the mixing process smooth and stress-free. Now, let's start mixing. In your large mixing bowl, add the softened butter, granulated sugar, and brown sugar. Using your mixer, cream them together on medium speed for about 2 to 3 minutes until the mixture is light and fluffy. This step is important because it incorporates air into the dough, which helps the cookies rise and gives them a nice texture. Don't rush this step. The creamed mixture should be pale in color and have a creamy consistency. If you're mixing by hand, make sure to use a sturdy spatula or wooden spoon and be prepared for a little workout. Next, add your eggs one at a time, beating well after each addition. This ensures they are fully incorporated and helps prevent the batter from separating. Then, pour in the vanilla extract and mix until combined. The vanilla adds that classic, irresistible cookie flavor. In a separate bowl, combine the all-purpose flour, baking soda, baking powder, and salt. Whisk them together to ensure the leavening agents are evenly distributed. This helps prevent any bitter spots in your cookies and ensures they rise evenly. Now, gradually add the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients. I like to add it in 3 parts, mixing on low speed after each addition. Be careful not to overmix. Stop mixing as soon as you don't see streaks of flour. Overmixing can develop the gluten in the flour too much, resulting in tougher cookies. If you're mixing by hand, use a folding motion, scooping from the bottom of the bowl, and turning the dough over onto itself. This gentle technique helps to combine the ingredients without overworking the dough. Remember, the goal here is a well-mixed but not overworked dough. It should be soft and slightly sticky, but firm enough to hold its shape when scooped. Now's a good time to scrape down the sides of your bowl to make sure everything is incorporated. Use a spatula to get all the butter and sugar mixture from the bottom of the bowl. Time for the star of the show, the chocolate chips. Pour in the 2 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips. You can also mix in milk chocolate chips, dark chocolate chunks, or even a combination if you like variety. Using a spatula or wooden spoon, gently fold the chocolate chips into the dough. Make sure they're evenly distributed so every cookie is loaded with chocolatey goodness. Feel free to add more if you're a chocoholic like me. Just be cautious not to add so many that the dough can't hold together. With our dough ready, it's time to shape the cookies. Line your baking sheets with parchment paper or silicone baking mats. This not only prevents sticking, but also promotes even baking. Using a cookie scoop or a tablespoon, scoop out balls of dough about 1.5 tablespoons in size. If you like larger cookies, you can use a 1/4 cup measure for each cookie. Just remember they may need a bit more baking time. Roll the dough gently between your palms to form a ball. For a rustic look, you can leave them as rough scoops. For an extra touch, press a few extra chocolate chips onto the top of each dough ball. This makes the finished cookies look even more enticing with melty chocolate on top. Place the dough balls on the prepared baking sheets, spacing them about 2 inches apart. This gives them room to spread without merging into one mega cookie, unless that's what you're going for. If you want bakery-style cookies with that crinkled top and gooey center, here's a pro tip. Chill the dough balls in the refrigerator for about 15 to 20 minutes before baking. This helps prevent the cookies from spreading too much and gives them a chewier texture. Once your oven is fully preheated, place the baking sheets in the oven. Bake 1 sheet at a time on the middle rack for the most even baking. Bake for 8 to 10 minutes if you like them soft and chewy, or 10 to 12 minutes for a crisper cookie. Keep an eye on them. The edges should be light golden brown, and the centers may look slightly underbaked, but they'll set as they cool. If your oven bakes unevenly, you may want to rotate the baking sheet halfway through baking. Avoid opening the oven door too often, as this can lower the oven temperature and affect baking time. While the first batch is baking, you can prepare the next sheet. If you have leftover dough, you can store it in the refrigerator between batches to keep it cool. Once the cookies are baked to perfection, remove them from the oven. Let them cool on the baking sheet for about 5 minutes. This allows them to firm up enough to transfer without breaking. After that, use a spatula to transfer the cookies to a cooling rack. Let them cool completely if you can resist. Cooling on a rack prevents the bottoms from becoming soggy and helps maintain that perfect texture. For an extra flavor boost, while the cookies are still warm, you can sprinkle a tiny bit of flaky sea salt on top. It enhances the sweetness of the chocolate and adds a gourmet touch. When it's time to serve, arrange them on a nice plate or stack them in a cookie jar. They're perfect with a cold glass of milk, a cup of coffee, or just on their own. Having trouble with your cookies? Don't worry, it happens to the best of us. Here are some common issues and how to fix them. Cookies spreading too much could be due to the butter being too warm or the dough being overmixed. Try chilling the dough before baking, or add a tablespoon of flour to the dough. Cookies too thick and didn't spread? You might have used too much flour. Make sure to measure your flour correctly using the spoon and level method. Also, avoid overmixing once the dry ingredients are added. Cookies are too hard? Overbaking is usually the culprit. Remember, the center should look slightly underbaked when you take them out. They'll continue to set as they cool. Uneven baking? If some cookies are browning more than others, your oven may have hot spots. Rotate your baking sheet halfway through baking. Altitude adjustments. If you're baking at high altitude, you might need to reduce the baking soda slightly and increase the flour. Baking at altitude can be tricky, so consult a reliable source for specific adjustments. Ready to mix things up? Here are some fun variations. Add-ins like chopped nuts, dried fruits, or white chocolate chips can add crunch and variety. For chewier cookies, use more brown sugar and less granulated sugar, and underbake slightly. For crispier cookies, do the opposite and bake a bit longer. Storing dough. You can refrigerate the dough for up to 3 days for better flavor and texture. Freeze dough balls for up to 3 months. Just bake them straight from the freezer, adding a couple of minutes to the baking time. Gluten-free vegan options. Use a 1:1 gluten-free flour blend to make the cookies gluten-free. For vegan cookies, substitute the butter with vegan butter and the eggs with flax eggs, 1 tablespoon ground flaxseed but 3 tablespoons water per egg. Don't forget to use dairy-free chocolate chips. And there you have it, the ultimate guide to baking perfect chocolate chip cookies. I hope you found these tips helpful and that you're now ready to bake up a storm in your own kitchen. Remember, baking is as much about having fun as it is about delicious results. So don't be afraid to get creative and make this recipe your own. If you tried this recipe, I'd love to hear how it turned out. Drop a comment below and let me know, or share a photo on Instagram and tag me at your channel name so I can see your wonderful creations. Got any baking questions or suggestions for future videos? Feel free to leave those in the comments too. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more tasty recipes and baking tips. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks so much for spending your time with me today. Your support means the world. Until next time, happy baking. Bye.